Cakes for the real grandkids, my dad said with a smug grin. The room went quiet. Too quiet. My 5-year-old daughter, Lily, froze beside me. Her tiny fingers tightened around the pink ribbon on her dress. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just stopped breathing for a second, like the words had knocked the air out of her small chest. I turned toward her immediately. Lily, I whispered, kneeling slightly so I could look her in the eyes. But before I could say anything else, my husband stood up. Slowly. Calmly. He picked up his glass of juice from the table, the way someone does right before making a toast. The room noticed. Chairs creaked. Conversations died mid-sentence. And suddenly, everyone was watching him. My father was still smiling. He had no idea what was about to happen. It was supposed to be a simple family dinner. My parents' house. Sunday evening. One big table, loud voices, plates stacked with food. My brother's kids ran around the living room, laughing, crumbs on their faces. My dad adored them. He always had. Lily sat quietly beside me, swinging her legs. She had spent the whole afternoon picking her dress. Pink, with tiny white flowers. She kept smoothing it down, wanting to look pretty for Grandpa. That broke my heart now. Because Grandpa had never truly seen her as his. Lily wasn't biologically mine. I married her father when she was 2. Her birth mother walked away before she could even talk. From the day I met Lily, I loved her like she came from my own body. But my father? He never stopped reminding us she was different. Little comments. Sharp jokes disguised as humor. She looks nothing like our family. Blood is blood. Kids need real roots. We learned to ignore it. Or so we thought. The cake arrived after dinner. Chocolate. Big. Beautiful. Candles shaped like flowers because my mom said it was a family celebration. My brother's kids clapped. Lily smiled, eyes wide. Then my dad leaned forward, cutting the cake himself. He placed slices carefully onto plates. 1, 2, 3. He skipped Lily. She stared at the empty space in front of her. I opened my mouth. That's when he said it. Cakes for the real grandkids. Smug. Proud. Like he had finally said something he'd been waiting years to say out loud. My mom froze mid-step. My brother looked down at his plate. No one laughed. No one corrected him. And that silence, it hurt more than the words. I felt Lily's body stiffen beside me. She didn't understand the word real the way adults do. But she understood exclusion. Children always do. I reached for her hand. That's okay, sweetheart, I said quickly. We can share mine. She nodded, forcing a tiny smile. But her eyes were glassy. That's when my husband stood up. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't look angry. That scared me more than shouting ever could. He lifted his glass slightly and smiled. Actually, he said, calm and clear, I'd like to make a small toast. My father rolled his eyes. Oh, come on, he scoffed. It's just a joke. My husband turned to him slowly. No, he said. It's not. The room felt heavy now. Like something was pressing down on everyone's chest. My husband looked around the table. At this table, he continued, is a little girl who calls this man Grandpa. She loves him. She brags about him at school. She drew him pictures this morning. Lily looked up at him, confused but listening. She doesn't know what real means, my husband said. But she knows when she's not wanted. My father shifted in his chair. That's not what I meant, he muttered. My husband smiled again. Oh, I know exactly what you meant. He took a sip from his glass. Then he dropped the bomb. You see, he said, voice still steady, before we came today, I told Lily something. My heart started pounding. She asked me if Grandpa loved her as much as the other kids. My mother gasped quietly. My father's grin disappeared. I told her yes, my husband continued. I told her that family isn't about blood, it's about choice. He paused. But I guess I was wrong. The silence was deafening. Then my husband turned directly to my father. So here's my toast, he said, raising his glass a little higher. To real family. The kind that doesn't need DNA to show love. And to the people who think cruelty makes them powerful, may they enjoy their cake. He lowered his glass. And that's when the panic started. My father's face went pale. What are you implying? He snapped. My husband didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope. Thick. White. Sealed. I wasn't planning to do this today, my husband said. But you made it necessary. My mother stood up. Please, she whispered. Not here. My husband placed the envelope on the table. This, he said, is the documentation you asked me to help with last year. My father swallowed. You promised. I promised nothing, my husband interrupted. I said I'd consider it. I looked at the envelope. My stomach dropped. I suddenly remembered late-night phone calls. Whispered conversations. My husband telling me, your dad is scared. Scared of what? Now I knew. You see, my husband said calmly, when someone teaches a child they're not real family, it makes me question what kind of family I want my child growing up around. He turned to Lily. Sweetheart, he said gently, would you like to go home? She nodded instantly. I stood up, heart racing. My father slammed his hand on the table. You wouldn't dare, he growled. My husband looked him straight in the eyes. Try me. And that's where everything changed. We didn't leave immediately. That's the part people always expect. But my husband didn't rush. He stood there calmly, hand resting on Lily's shoulder, like a shield. My father's voice shook. You think you can humiliate me in my own house? He snapped. My husband nodded once. No, he said. You humiliated yourself. He turned to my mother. You asked me for help last year, he reminded her gently. When the truth started surfacing. My mother covered her mouth, eyes filling with tears. My brother finally spoke. What truth? The envelope sat on the table like a ticking bomb. My husband opened it. Slowly. Inside were documents. Old ones. Legal ones. Years ago, my husband said, this family made a decision. One that benefited some and destroyed others. My father stood up. Stop, he shouted. But it was too late. My husband continued. The man who talks about real blood isn't even related to the grandchildren he favors. The room exploded. What? My brother yelled. My mother sobbed. My father's face twisted with rage and fear. You lie, he screamed. My husband slid one paper forward. DNA results. Dates. Names. Silence fell again, this time heavy and permanent. Lily tugged my sleeve. Mommy, she whispered, are we going home now? I nodded, tears in my eyes. Yes, baby. As we walked toward the door, my father collapsed back into his chair. The cake remained untouched. No one celebrated. No one felt superior anymore. At the door, my husband turned back one last time. You wanted to know who's real, he said quietly. Now you do. We left. That night, Lily slept peacefully between us. She never asked about the cake again. Weeks later, my parents called. Apologies. Excuses. We didn't go back. Because some lessons are learned too late. And some children deserve better than almost love. If this story moved you, reminded you of someone, or made you feel something deep inside. Backhand index pointing right. Subscribe to Storks Daily. Because here, every story reminds you that family is chosen, not measured by blood. Speech balloon. Like, share, and comment. Your support keeps these stories alive.